Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. I am going to take today to talk to you about some of the graphic novels that really have affected me as a reader. Now, when I started reading graphic novels, I didn't think that I would like them. I didn't actually consider them part of the literature world that I lived in. But I'll start with the one who really changed my opinion. And over the years, I've read so many of them that I still think of every once in a while. They'll just pop into my head because they've changed the way I think about books and the way I think about literature. The one that really started that for me is this series. It's a book of two books. It's Mouse by Art Spiegelman. I don't know if you've read it, but if you haven't, you've got to. So Art Spiegelman started writing this in the 70s and finished it through the 80s. It was put into this set, I think, in the early 90s. I read it in the 90s after college. It is the story of his father and his father's family through the Holocaust. Also, him dealing with his father in his old age, and also dealing with the grief of losing his father after that happens. A couple of interesting choices that Art Spiegelman makes are all of the Jewish people in the book are represented as mice, and all of the German people are represented as cats, and other nationalities are represented as different animals. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've read them. But what I do remember is, you know that Art Spiegelman did not always get along with his father or understand his father. But you never doubt that he loved his father. And he wanted to tell his father's story. And it's so powerfully done. The Holocaust is one of those things that I feel affects everybody differently. And when you hear a story so well told as Art Spiegelman does in these books, you can't help but be just moved. So that's Mouse by Art Spiegelman. I highly recommend it. I have it in this really cool double book set. And if you can get it at your library, I know almost every library has it. It's amazing. So I'm going to warn you, just as a kind of aside, most of these are really sad. So I apologize. Those are the ones that stuck with me, but they are definitely worth the read. The next one that I remember reading and truly loving was Persepolis. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And it's by Marjan Satrapi. So there's her name. This actually came out originally also as two volumes. This was put together as one volume because this was actually turned into an animated film as well that was nominated for Best Animated Picture at the Oscars one year. So this is a memoir about Marjane growing up in Iran during the Islamic Revolution. So the world that she knew changes drastically. She's a woman in Iran as this revolution was going on, and things were really changing. And it's about her family and about who she wants to become and whether or not she'll be able to do that in this new Iran. This woman right here, who is her grandmother, is fantastic. I still sometimes have her pop into my head. It's really well told. The art is very stark. It's very black and white, but it has a certain power to it that you will not forget the main character. And every once in a while, she'll pop into my head. I'm like, I should go back and reread her story. I don't know that she ever did anything after this. This is the only thing I've ever read, but I remember truly, truly loving this book. So that's Persepolis by Marjan Satrapi. Sorry, Marjan, I'm butchering your name of your book and you. I'm sorry. The next book that really changed my mind is probably the most famous on this list, and that is Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. Fun Home is another memoir with very, very powerful art. Very straightforward. This is the story of Alison and her father. Now, Alison is a lesbian woman who comes out in college, and she's also a cartoonist. And she comes out to her family, and this is really her remembering her father, who soon after she comes out is killed. Now, there's some debate, and the book doesn't ever answer this question on whether or not it was an accident or whether or not her father took his own life, because you find out that her father was also gay and struggled with this throughout his entire life. This has been made into a fantastic Broadway musical that won Best Musical a few years ago at the Tonys. It is ridiculously simple in its power. Now, Alison Bechdel is really well known. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Bechdel test. It's something that she put together where she asks you to look at a work of literature, and if you have two women alone on a page, do they speak of anything other than men? And if they do, they pass the Bechdel test. If they don't, then they just prove that that's usually what in literature women are said to do, and she wants to challenge that. And so she's great. If she has a sequel to this, which is about the relationship with her mother, but this is the one that I really think sticks out, and that's Fun Home, a family memoir about Alison Bechdel. She calls it a family tragic comedy, and it's pretty funny, but it's also very tragic. But you'll love it, I promise. If you haven't read it, please do. The next one I'm going to tell you about is actually a YA graphic novel. And I'm not going to tell you a ton about it. And it is Boxers and Saints, and here's the author's name, Jin Lu Yang. And this is a YA novel about the Boxer Rebellion in China. And what's great is it's also 2 volumes, but each volume is actually the same time period from a different perspective. So you're kind of going over the same events, but once from one character's perspective and once from another. I'm not going to tell you a ton about it because here's the thing. I didn't know much about the Boxer Rebellion going into it, and what this taught me was amazing because I didn't. So I don't want to really tell you too much, but I will say at the end of it, I was very sad, but very optimistic, but also very powerfully moved by it. It's really great. He has a couple of other books out that I want to get that I think are actually equally as good, but this is the one that really stuck with me. That's Boxers and Saints by Jin Lu Yang. So Boxers and Saints. Definitely pick that up if you haven't read it already. This is, the next is a set of 3, and it's actually been going around a lot lately, so I don't know. Probably if you're not here in America, you probably haven't heard of it, but if you're here in America, it's probably popped up on your book radar, and that's March, and it has 3 authors, John Lewis, Andrew Aiden, and Nate Powell, so I'll hold that up there. Now, John Lewis is a U.S. Senator here in America, and these 3 graphic novels, I can't think of the word. They are a memoir of his time in the civil rights movement in America. He is still alive, and he is a phenomenal man. That he is still alive is amazing. These are brutal books. They are truthful. They are based on history. He knew Martin Luther King. He knew Malcolm X. He knew what went on. It starts with the nonviolent protests that are happening in the South, where a group of African Americans would go into a diner and sit at the counter and demand to be served. And the things that would be done to them, the physical violence that they had to suffer, it's heart-wrenching. It moves on through history. He's involved in a bunch of different big-ticket civil rights movements. Martin Luther King's March, I Had a Dream speech. I didn't even know John Lewis gave a speech on the same day. It's also got the movement in Alabama to get people to vote, to register to vote so that they could change their state. It is got Robert Kennedy in it. It's so much history. I will say, just as an aside, part 3 gets bogged down a little bit in its own history, and it's not as smooth as part 1 and part 2. So it reads a little too history because he wants to get that knowledge out to you. But it's powerful. I think everyone should read it. It teaches you so much. He's an amazing man. His story totally deserves to be known, and I don't think enough people know it. And I don't think enough people know about what went on not that long ago in regards to the civil rights movement. So that's March. It's by John Lewis, Andrew Aiden, and Nate Powell. Please go pick it up. This is a great 3-box set. I got mine at Powell's last year for Christmas. Present to myself. But I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys read it. And last but not least, I'm going to go a little more uplifting. You've probably seen this one, The 100 Nights of Hero by Isabel Greenberg. It's been on a bunch of channels. I know it was on Simon Savage, Lauren in the Books, and Jean at Bookish Thoughts. All of their top 10 lists of last year. They've already talked about it. I just got it this year, and I read it the same day I bought it, and it is amazing. The artwork is great, and you're probably like, Russell, tell me what the story is about. So The 100 Nights of Hero is the story. It starts with two men who are having a conversation, and one of them bets the other that he can seduce his wife. The other guy says, no, my wife is really virtuous. She's really true. She would never be seduced by you. And they make a bet. And that guy, her husband, gives the guy 100 nights to seduce his wife. Well, little does he know, or either of them know, that his wife is actually already in love with Hero. And Hero is her maiden. And they actually come together. They've been in love before the marriage, but she's been forced to marry this man. And what starts to happen is every night that this man comes to try to conquer her, and he more or less says he's going to conquer her some way. She'll either give in or he'll just take what he wants. Hero starts telling him stories, and that is what it's about. It is about the storytelling tradition. The world that it's set in is patriarchal. Women aren't supposed to read. Women who do read, write, tell stories are thought to be witches. It's the story of Hero's family and storytelling and how it's made Hero who she is. It's got fantastic elements. It's got a little bit of magical realism. It's got a little of fairy tale in it. It is really, really powerful. By the end of it, I wanted Hero, and I think her name is Cherry, Hero and Cherry. I would rescue them. I wanted them to come live with me and tell me stories. It's really well done. I went out and bought her first book immediately. I tweeted her the next day. I was like, I love your book. She was so sweet to tweet back. So I really, really recommend this. I bought this immediately for the woman who sits next to me at work and said, I need you to read this with your daughters. It's really powerful, really affirming, and really just a perfect graphic novel. So that's The 100 Nights of Hero by Isabel Greenberg, and it's a little more not so downer as everyone else. And I hope you guys liked this video. I really enjoyed sharing these graphic novels with you. They really have changed my opinion of graphic novels throughout time. They've really stuck with me. I give them away all the time, and I love them, and I hope you read them. Please, down below, talk to me about them if you've read them. If you buy them, let me know. We can talk about it. If you have graphic novels that you think I really should read that I didn't talk about, please tell them below. If you're a first-time watcher, welcome. I would love it if you subscribe. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed. And I will see you guys this weekend with another video, and hope all is well. Bye!